everyone. I'm Robyn Grable, the founder of Talents Ascend and the Ascend Collective, and your host for Ascending Beyond Barriers. Welcome. Ascending Beyond Barriers is an inspiring podcast dedicated to showcasing the remarkable journeys of small business founders who have faced and overcome significant challenges on their path to success. Each episode delves into the personal stories of entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds, highlighting their unique experiences, struggles, and triumphs. Welcome back to Ascending Beyond Barriers, where we lift voices, share stories, and celebrate the incredible journeys of veterans, military spouses, and change makers who are breaking through barriers every day. But before we dive in, please remember to subscribe or follow us so you never miss an episode, because we truly thank you for supporting our mission of supporting underserved talent across the country. Today's guest is Jen Amos. You are in for an incredible conversation today, so thank you for being here. Let's get started. Jen, thank you so much. This is an honor to meet you. What an incredible story you have, and there's so much to go through here. I'm just honored, but I'm going to just kind of read through. Gold Star daughter, my heart goes out to you. I can't even imagine what you went through at 10 years old. Veteran spouse, and you have a business with your husband, so which is incredible. That's something I don't think I could ever do because my husband and I are so opposite. And that would be an incredible thing, I think. But you're also an entrepreneur. You're also a podcast host. So this is kind of intimidating,
Oh, no, Robyn, not even. No.
And then you're an author now as well. So, wow, so much to unpack. I'm just honored to have you on. And Happy New Year. This episode is our first episode of 2026. So Happy New Year. And what a perfect time. It kind of all worked out well that you and your husband run a company called US VetWealth. So what a perfect way to kick off the new year than to talk about, being wealthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to start us off, tell us about your journey going through being a Gold Star spouse or a Gold Star daughter. I read about your dad. Wow, just absolutely heartbreaking. So how was that experience?
Well, Robyn, first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show. And please, do not be intimidated by me. If you met me in real life, I kind of look like this on a day-to-day, but without makeup. And thank you for having me, like I said. And and I like to say that my business with my husband is our baby. Until we have babies, it's our baby. And that's why I think, I think that's why we work so well together, because it's just good practice, in my opinion. So, but yeah, just to open up about my story of being a Gold Star daughter, it's always interesting to talk about it because I lost my dad in 1998, and every year it's different. Every year I have a different epiphany about it. I'm at a great place now where I'm very detached from. I feel like I've healed a lot from that journey, and part of that is there's a book I really like that I read this year. It's called Bittersweet by Susan Cain. If anyone knows Susan Cain, she wrote the book Quiet, which is about introverts, by the way, in case anyone's introvert listening to this, check out that book. But anyway, in the book Bittersweet, she talks about how you can turn your grief and loss into art. You can use it, you can rechannel it to contribute something good into society. And so that's how I take my family story is to be so lucky and blessed to run into my husband 20 years later, working with the military community and finding my place in our company to serve. And part of that is the ability to channel my upbringing, having lost my dad at 10 years old and everything that came with that. I mean, that'd be a whole conversation for another day to unpack the journey that I personally went through. And I'm sure my family has their stories as well. We're very lucky. We have worked with the Price of Freedom Foundation. So shout out to Dennis. They worked with our family to write a book about my dad. So again, another opportunity to turn loss and grief into something that hopefully helps other Gold Star family members or anyone who doesn't know who a Gold Star family member is. They can read our story or learn more about the Price of Freedom Foundation.
Yeah. Wow. And so for those listeners who don't know what Gold Star families are, it's a family member has died on active duty while
Hmm.
serving in the military. So just it's tragic, and but I love that you have found ways to turn that grief into something positive. I last year, my aunt, who I called mom, was very
Mm,
close to her. She passed away. Whew, it
I'm
still makes me
sorry.
cry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, I went through bad time all most of last year because of that. So
Mm.
I love that. I'm going to read that book because I want to find ways to turn. I mean, she just gave me so much unconditional love, and I want to do something to honor her. So that's
Yes,
amazing.
absolutely. The first couple of chapters, personally for me, it got me pretty emotional. So if you do
Yeah.
read it, let me know. It was very healing to read
Good.
that book. Hmm.
Good. Awesome. So you meet your husband. What branch was he in?
Army. So he went to West Point. I always have to mention that because all West Pointers bring it up.
Okay.
and yeah, so he served in the Army, and I met him years after his service, so I can't
Okay.
recite his resume to you.
Okay.
And
No,
plus,
no worries.
he has his own thing, so you can
This is
look him
about
up. And
you, not
yeah,
him.
exactly, you look him up. So,
Yeah,
but yes, he was
absolutely.
in the Army, and it was interesting, Robyn, because I come from a Navy family. So
Yeah.
I've always been used to being at military bases near water. Like I primarily grew up after losing my dad in California, like in San
Okay.
Diego. So there's water was always like 20 minutes or so away.
Sure.
So to meet my husband and to learn more about a completely different branch
Right.
is fascinating. Like he told me about bases where there was no water. It was just in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, wow,
Exactly.
like thank God my family served in the military in the Navy
Yes.
because I was always near water,
Yeah.
and I liked it. There's something, just
Calming. Yeah.
calming, yeah,
Yeah.
calming about it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So US Vet Wealth, tell us about that. And I'm going to ask you some, just because it is, the beginning of January 2026, brand new year. Everybody makes their resolutions and tries to make their promises to themselves. And wealth is one of those things. So tell us about
Yeah.
working with your husband and what is US Vet Wealth?
Yeah, well, US Vet Wealth, it was my husband started it, and I joined him back in almost a decade ago now, which
Wow.
blows my mind. It means I've been with him for like a decade. So, but anyway, we specialize in working with senior NCOs and officers who are going through military retirement,
Okay.
and they are faced with the survivor benefit plan
Oh,
decision. So these
mm,
are retirees who are getting a pension,
okay.
and the SBP supports the pension. But the unique part of it that we like to talk about is the survivor benefit plan. There's an option to opt out of it.
Mhm.
And we're not against it. We're just letting people know that there's an option to opt
Options.
out.
Yeah.
And this is something I write about in my book for the military spouse, where the spouse is crucial to that decision.
Yes.
But the whole reason we address the SBP first is because the retirees tend to find us online, and they're already seeking out other alternatives
Mm,
to protect their pension. And so, for anyone that is going through military retirement and you're going to get a pension and you're faced with the SBP decision, that's where our conversation starts.
okay.
That conversation is more than just a financial decision, it's a life-changing decision. Finance is reflective of life, it's reflective of how you live your life. And so, we
Yeah.
want to show the retiree and the military spouse that after the military, you don't have to just choose options A, B, and C on the table anymore. There's more options out in the civilian world, and I feel like Robyn, you can relate, where you can have preferences, you can have choices, you can customize. That happens in the civilian world.
Yeah.
That's normal for us, that's normal for
Yeah.
civilians. But for the military, not so much,
Mm,
except for the spouse has navigated being a civilian and being a military spouse, so she knows that she can have options. We
yeah.
want to take what she already does navigating the military and civilian world in making a decision about the survivor benefit plan. So that's where it all begins.
Okay.
And the last thing I'll say in short is, with our company, our specialty is life insurance. And I like to say we like to put the life back in life insurance. Most
Aw.
people think of life insurance as like death insurance, but we educate a different perspective on actually having your money work for you and still have access to while you're alive, or not waiting till you're in your 60s to access your money. So that's what it is in short.
Okay.
And like I said earlier on in the conversation, I like to consider our business our baby.
Yeah.
But it's fun working. I mean, it's become fun
Okay.
working working with my husband. How
Okay.
about
There's
that?
a
How about
story
that?
there.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't imagine. My husband and I are so different. I'm very type A, and whatever
Mm,
is the absolutely 360-degree difference between type A and that's him. But
okay.
we're really good together because he grounds me. He keeps me, just calm. And he makes me laugh every day. So we've been together 30 years.
It's amazing.
It's working. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, 30 years. I mean,
yeah,
that's a lot to be said. And not all spouses can work together, but that doesn't
yeah,
mean the relationship isn't working. It just so
absolutely.
happened that it works for my husband and I feel very blessed in that way to
Yeah,
spend every
absolutely.
day working with him and talking business with him, but also, like living life. Like, it's just fun to live life together is how I see
Yeah.
it. So I think what comes to mind for me in this moment is I I grew up without a dad for most of my upbringing, especially after 10. And I I feel like I grew up with like most of my adult life, I didn't really share my life with a lot of people. Like I don't know if it was because I was trying to be Miss Independent or whatever, but I went from like that lack of closeness to now having a husband who just, he's wondering what I'm doing upstairs right now, even though he's right down, like he knows we're in the like we're in the same
Yeah.
house, but he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I missed you.
Oh,
So, and I'm like, it used to bother me, but I was like, you know what? That's nice. Like, that's nice that someone wants to be with me all the time.
yes. Yes, absolutely. No, I can totally relate because I had my parents were divorced, and so I had
Mm,
stepfathers and stepmothers, and I got a divorce. My first marriage was to another Navy veteran.
mm,
And so I've been through that situation, and when I met my husband now 30 years ago, I was in that place where I wasn't used to people being, especially men, being nice to me. I'd been through a lot in my life at that point and related to men, and I just wasn't used to it. And so yeah, it's like, I'm okay. Yeah, okay. You don't have to check on me every 5 seconds, but then it's like knowing that he loves me and that he cares about me and that he would, walk through fire for me is
yeah.
it's an incredible feeling. So I'm so happy that you have that.
Thank
That's
you.
and
It
that you're
really helps. It also helps that he's from the Midwest, and he just really him and his family really
oh,
impress upon me that there are good people out there, like
there are.
good, honest, trustworthy, generous people.
There
And
are.
it's just such a 180 from my
Yeah.
upbringing and the relationships I attracted.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
I'm just very thankful
Yeah.
to be where I'm at today with my husband. So
Good. Good. That's awesome. Congratulations. All right. So now let's move on to the next thing because I'm probably going to go back to wealth because again, it's January. We want to talk about kind of resolutions and stuff, but let's talk about your podcast, Holding Down the Fort, which I absolutely love the name. I
thank
love
you.
creative things like that, Holding Down the Fort. So tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, well, I can't take credit for the name. My team actually came up with it. So it was yeah, several years ago. It was in summer 2019. I wanted to find my place in our company, US VetWealth, and I recognized that while my team focused on the retiree or focused on veterans, um, I noticed that whenever we had potential clients schedule discovery calls with us, I noticed that the retiree was there to talk about the survivor benefit plan. But the thing is, Robyn, the beneficiary is typically the military spouse, typically. And in fact, by default, it is if you don't choose anything else. And yet, when the retiree gets on a call with us, the military spouse is either not there or she's off camera. She's off camera.
Yeah.
And I was very fascinated by that. I thought, how is it that the military spouse, she is the primary beneficiary
Yeah.
of the survivor benefit plan? Wouldn't she want to know what she's benefiting? So that question sparked just this whole journey of understanding where she's coming from. And I didn't want to make assumptions. My mom was she was a seasoned military spouse. My dad was in the military for 18 and a half years. So I didn't want to just make assumptions off of what I think goes through the mind of a military spouse just
Yeah.
based on my mom. So the podcast began. And I remember asking my team, my colleagues, I said, "Hey, what's a good name for the show where it really represents how the military spouse is handling the household and the family and the month to month budgeting? Like, what's a phrase for that?" And immediately, shout out to Ethan, he said, "Holding down the fort." Long story
Perfect.
short, we got our graphic designer to create the logo,
Love
and
it.
it's been the same one since. So that's 6 years ago. And I've just been on such an incredible journey with the show. I've definitely gone down detours. I've gone down just amazing journey to like learn everything about military spouses and around the military spouses, like veterans and other nonprofits and individuals. So it's just been an amazing journey of like plugging back into the military community and hearing firsthand what the military life is like today versus when my family was in 20 years ago.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that. It's very, very indicative of how military spouses are seen or really unseen,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so true that it's sometimes always about the service member, always about the veteran. And it's such a shame because our military could not exist without our military spouses. Let's just it's plain and simple. Because if a service member decides to get married, yes, they weren't military issued, those
Mm-hmm.
spouses, because that's what the DoD likes to say. Well, you weren't issued a military spouse,
Right,
so
right.
right, we care about you. But they make decisions based on the success of their spouse, and but whether they can get employment. I can't stay in the military because my spouse can't get a great career and be able to sustain their career.
Mm-hmm.
And so those decisions are together, and it's so I'm happy that you are focused on that, because it's really. I was just in December at a military spouse entrepreneurship roundtable, and
Mm-hmm.
just talking about the challenges and the barriers that military spouses face. Now, I was a military spouse while on active duty. So my husband was on active duty while I was also on active duty. And then I got out and he was still on active duty. So I kind of had a split. But I will say that even though I was on active duty, his orders still came first. He was always the priority, and I was always still the one that had to hold down the fort,
Yeah.
and with our daughter and with the moves. And we moved from Brunswick, Maine to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii.
Wow.
My daughter was 14 months old, and it was her and I. We made that move
Mm-hmm.
by ourselves because he had to go
Wow.
to SEER school. And so, yeah, I'm grateful that you're focusing on telling those stories and celebrating and helping and inspiring. So thank you for that. That's amazing. And I love the name, and the logo is great too. So anybody out there, please check out Holding Down the Fort with Jen Amos. That's amazing. So, all right. You've got the US Vet Wealth. You've got the Holding Down the Fort. You've got, which let's go back to that for a second. It is a baby. I consider my business my baby, and it, because you're really growing something, you're building something, you're bringing something to life, so it truly
Mm-hmm.
is. And people out there say don't call it a baby. There's a people that will say that. I don't agree with that, because it's your life. I mean, you're putting
Mm-hmm.
your blood, sweat, and tears into this, just like it is a child. So go ahead and say that. I agree with that. So, all right. So now you're an author. Now you've
Yes.
written the book.
Upcoming author, to be
Okay.
clear.
When will it
Upcoming
be
author.
out?
Well, it's interesting. I'm taking a unique approach to my book. I'm releasing a couple of chapters at a time.
Oh,
So if
interesting.
people visit my podcast, if you go to insidethefort.com and you subscribe, you will actually get the initial chapters or whatever I've released at this point, at the time this recording comes out. You will receive the PDF version for free. And the reason why I'm doing that, Robyn, is because it's important for me to get this story right. You have to
Okay.
understand, like, the survivor benefit plan, from all the conversations we've had around it, it's a very emotional conversation,
Sure.
because I want to read this line. So if anyone is faced with the survivor benefit plan, there's a form. It's called DD 2656 form. And this is usually given to the retiree, and this is what the retiree has to sign. I'll read this to you. It says, I understand that if I am married and I elected less than full SBP coverage for my spouse, I will need my spouse's notarized, keyword notarized concurrence, signed no earlier than the date of my signature and prior to the date of my retirement. So, what this means is that if a spouse even wanted to consider her options, imagine how intimidating it is to go out of your way to notarize something, to say, I actually don't want this. And so I've just heard too many conversations about the emotional decision behind this. And I just want to be hypersensitive to that and give a different perspective on this is more than a question of what happens to you when I die, honey, or, what happens to me after you die. It's more than that. It can actually be an empowering decision. And that's what my book is going to be about. So I've released a couple of chapters and I will continue to release a couple of chapters because I don't know what it is, but part of it also helps me be accountable. And once it's out there, it's like, okay, that I'm going to give that back to my editor to help me finalize that because I feel good about how it's out there. So, and also when it's done, Robyn, I'm going to give it out for free. It's going to be a free book. In fact, my husband's book right now, Don't Forget Your War Chest, that's free as well because it's important for us. I'm not trying to be like a best-selling author.
Yeah.
What's most important for me is to make sure the military spouse has more than secondhand information. Secondhand information is such a common thing that they receive, and I want this to be firsthand information for them. I want a book that speaks to them directly about understanding the SBP and potentially alternative options that could work for her. And I want to give it out for free because no one else is talking about it the way that we talk about it at US VetWealth. So that's why I'm releasing a couple of chapters at a time. And like I said, it's free. You just have to go to our website, insidethefort.com, subscribe, and the welcome email will give you access to downloading that book. And then as more chapters come out, I will be emailing them those updated chapters.
Okay. I love that. And it's almost like a teaser too. It's like you get a little bit of information, but it's also a little bit of information at a time so that it's not so overwhelming because it is a tough conversation to have. It can be overwhelming to figure out, and especially, I mean, there can be very young people getting out of the military and they don't understand any of this. And it's like, how do you make these decisions when you don't think, anything's going to happen to you for another, 100 years?
Yes, that's true. That's true. Because when you're going through the military retirement process, it seems like it's another thing to just check off the list, right?
Yes.
But I got to tell you, we also have had conversation with spouses who decades later, their husband passes away and they have no idea what they signed up for, or they don't even know how to have access. They don't know how to receive the benefits of the survivor benefit plan. And those are the people I advocate for. Those are the people I think about when I write this book is, it's no big deal now, but should anything happen decades from now, it's hard to witness that.
Yeah.
And so, but again, this conversation is not about scaring you. I want to be clear to the military spouse. It's not about scaring you. It's about giving you a different perspective, and giving you more options. Because again, you're going to become a civilian. Like, it's normal to have options. It's normal to seek out a second opinion. Yes. And so I hope that my book does justice to that. My hope is that it speaks to that level of sensitivity, because I know the spouse at this point is so accustomed to the inertia of military life and receiving secondhand information and kind of just going with the flow at a certain point so that you could focus on holding down the fort. And I'm here to say the survivor benefit plan, it's important for you to understand because this is the retiree's legacy. You are the retiree's legacy. Yeah. And I want you to understand what you're benefiting from.
Absolutely.
Because it's yours. It's your benefit.
Yeah. And it's important. My aunt, unfortunately, my uncle was a Vietnam War veteran and he got severely wounded 6 months. He went to Vietnam 6 months in. He stepped on a landmine, severely wounded.
Yeah.
Spent a year at Walter Reed recovering. But he didn't really understand the survivor benefit plan, and he didn't sign it.
Mm-hmm.
And, my aunt didn't get anything.
Yeah.
And so you just, and you never know what the service member is going through. They've got to pay attention, which is why it's necessary to bring your spouse along in those conversations, because they may think of something that you're not thinking about, because you're all, the service members, all this stuff's going through their head. But the military spouse is the one that, has the tactical and the logistics
Yes.
and all those
Yes.
things that they've had to be responsible for along the way. They know the questions to ask. So definitely worth bringing them along. So, wow. All right, Jen. Well, we are out of time, unfortunately, because we could just talk about this. So I want to leave the listeners with, what's your one, and you've had some great advice along the way here, but what's your one thing? We're starting out the year. What's your one thing about starting a new year, wealth, benefits, all the things that people should be looking for?
I would say for the military spouse specifically, the seasoned military spouse that is also going through military retirement and is also faced with the survivor benefit plan decision, to be on the call. Be on the call with the retiree, whether it's with US VetWealth or with another financial advisor, I don't care. Be on that call, get educated, understand what it is, because it's more than just the survivor benefit plan. It's about making a confident and informed decision for post military life. And so that's my phrase of the day: be on the call. Be
Yes.
on the call, Robyn.
Yes, I love that. All right, that's a mic drop. Okay, well, let's, that's really a great place to stop. But all right, Jen, thank you so much. Such an honor to know you, and just look forward to watching all the things that you're doing, and being a small part of your community. I appreciate and honor that. So thank
Oh,
you so much.
thank you for having me, Robyn. This has been a
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Ascending Beyond Barriers, where every story reminds us that potential deserves a pathway. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, follow, rate us, all the things, so that we can continue to tell these great stories and elevate these powerful voices. Until we meet again, keep believing in your story, keep lifting others, and keep ascending beyond barriers.